Hi everyone, it's Sunday, July 17th, time for another HideNet Week in Review. I'm Vera Dordick. Let's start with the U.S. where it was a difficult week for the market. Bid prices were low and customers were very resistant to increasing their bids even to steady levels with last sales. The bottom line was that not a lot of new business was concluded, so in fact the prices were steady because of the lack of business. The highest price reported for heavy Texas steers was $25 for 62.64 pounds, but most said that was actually at the low end of the range. It was a little different in the cow market because those selections saw prices slump by $1 in general. Looking at the export totals, even with the short holiday week, the numbers were disappointing, especially for rawhides. Combined export sales for the week ending July 7th were 422,500, which is 40% less than last week's total. Combined shipments dropped by 18% to just 349,300, so those were poor as well. Slaughter for this week was back up to the usual summer high levels at 677,000. Turning to Europe, editor Andrea Guello says that the weak euro's actually bringing international buyers to European commodities, and that's actually helping to block the decline in prices. But actually, the issue of the automotive sector really is weighing on the restart of business in September and the lack of orders there. In the UK, prices for the European market are basically unchanged, and sales concluded during the week were made at 75 to 76 cents sterling per kilo for the English 36 plus ox. In Ireland, it's pretty much the same story, and the reference price in euros is still around 75 to 80 cents. But the weak euro has actually brought Chinese buyers into the market, and they were willing to pay a little bit more in both cases. European bulls are still in a bad spot. Slaughter is very low, and there's no prospect of recovery for leather right now. In fact, there were no orders from Italian tanneries this week. Northern German hides are therefore steady at €1 per kilo for the 40 plus kilogram selections. But with regard to European cows, there were few sales during the week, and things don't really look particularly hopeful for the fall restart either. In the veal sector, prices were unchanged, but as always, the high end of the market is doing well. And meanwhile, for sheep, prices are stable and the outlook is comparatively good. In his analysis, Andrea looks at the effects of the currency situation on tanning and specifically what's going on with bulls and also calves. From South America, editor Ronald Guiel reports that raw material prices declined again. The average price is now $2.05 per kilo, which is a drop of 7 cents from last week, where we saw another 12-cent drop. The reference price of TR1 was stable this week at 80 cents in US dollars per square foot. In other news from Brazil, Brazilian footwear exports were up by 67% in the first half of 2022. Abe Calçados is doing a U.S. drop shipping mentorship program, which is quite interesting. And from elsewhere in Latin America, Argentina is expecting higher slaughter in the second half of 2022. In Colombia, DANE reported the slaughter through May. In Mexico, school footwear prices are going to rise by 8%, and in Paraguay, cattle slaughter is up by 2% in the first half of 2022. So that's all we have for this week, and until next week, good night from HideNet.